Dave, as an employer, when I'm hiring a new driver, how long do I have to create that required driver qualification file?
Once the job offer is on the table, the clock starts ticking. You've got 30 days from then until the DQ file must be completed, including the trainings that the driver must have.
What is the most common reason for a commercial motor vehicle to fail a roadside inspection?
Things that are blatant to either an enforcement officer or a regular road officer going right down the road beside the truck. Lights out, mud flaps missing or chunks missing out of it, mainly lighting, those kind of things that should be picked up on a pre-trip inspection.
So those things that are really easily seen, whether it's by the driver who's paying attention or by the officer who's looking to pull a big vehicle over.
That's right.
I see. What's the best way for a company to limit these problems with running their commercial motor vehicles?
They must first have a policy in place. First thing is, when a driver is hired, the indoctrination program, they should have in place a pre-trip inspection plan that the driver must follow and not circumvent. And if the driver does not comply with this and gets bad inspections, then the carrier must have a disciplinary action policy in place and adhere to it. And because that's the lifeblood of their organization, is having good inspections.
Well, interestingly, you're talking about disciplinary action, and one of the areas that I wanted to ask you about is the drug and alcohol policy that's required under the 7 Basics. Could you give us some insight on that? For example, when a driver could be tested?
Okay, when a company signs on with us and adopts our policy and procedure, which is in our red notebook here, which is our library, we establish a zero tolerance for drugs and alcohol. That's number one.
Dave, what's the criteria that the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration has for testing a driver for drugs and alcohol?
There's 5 times a driver can be tested for drugs and alcohol. The first is pre-employment, which has to be done in that 30-day period. The second is reasonable suspicion. The third is post-accident, which must be done in a timely manner. The next one is the mandatory random for CDLs, and the final one is return to duty drug and alcohol test. In addition to, when they return to duty, they must also return to duty physical.
What training is required for employers when it comes to the regulations covering drugs and alcohol?
All right, in section 382, 307 of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Rules and Regulations, it states that the employers must have a minimum of 60 minutes for drugs and 60 minutes for alcohol, training by a certified felicitator to take and teach them these things, have the handouts, do scenarios, answer the questions and all. And I've been doing this for over 30 years.
So when you're working with a client, it's really beyond just what the regulations say. You're obviously taking into account your audit experience as well. How do you keep up with all those changes?
Well, we offer trainings in the different areas. All the areas that's required, and some that exceed that. We train them in the new cell phone law, and the new trainings that come out. We keep abreast of them as best we can, because nobody knows all the rules and regulations. I don't know them all. Nobody does. But we know the basic things that are going to keep our clients out of trouble and keep them on the right track.
There have been some recent changes with the hours of service regulations. Could you talk about those and how these things have changed?
Well, the people that make the rules, they constantly want to try to keep the drivers off the road as much as they can. The big things that have changed is Hours of service is the basics is 10, 11, and 14 hours. 10 hours off, 11 hours driving, 14 hours working. The other is a restart. It used to be 34 hours consecutive. It was qualified for restart. Now they have to have a 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. time period off in 2 consecutive days to qualify for restart. Whether on a 60-hour clock or 70-hour clock, it doesn't make any difference. And the big things on the hours of service, on their logs, is form and manner. There's a correct form. There's things on the driver logs that the troopers are looking for, and if they're not, they fine them for form and manner, which is one of the big intervention things now.
When an employer's facing an audit, what happens then?
Corrective action plans must be coherent to your business itself. So it's not anything that a company can offer a one-size-fits-all deal.
It has to be tailored to your particular business or my particular business. Yeah.
That's correct. If I get a call from ABC company, then when I walk in there, I say, okay, I want to sit down, I want you to tell me what you do in your business. I listen to them. Then I tailor a plan, a corrective action plan to fit their business and to fit theirs, so it's not a stereotype, because I deal with federal people from Mississippi to Michigan to Texas to Delaware to Jersey, Virginia, and Florida. And they will look and they'll see stereotypes. And stereotypes they will not look at, they'll throw them right back at you. So it's best to get it right the first time, but if you don't, then we can go in there and we can get you back upgraded. And I've had a 100% success rate